Funding for this program was provided by the Annenberg CPB Project.
You can always tell when children feel good about themselves. Every parent and every teacher hopes that the children in their care are developing that positive sense of self-worth. But when you're a child, feeling good about yourself isn't always easy. How many of us have found ourselves faced with situations like these? How do we know what to say or do to help children feel good about who they are? Self-esteem is more than just a buzzword. How our children feel about themselves, their self-worth, is one of our greatest responsibilities and one of our biggest challenges. Hello, I'm Joanne Hendrick, author of The Whole Child and your guide to this video series. In this program, we're going to look at the development of children's self-worth. We'll observe children in a number of different centers: Head Start, family daycare homes, university schools, and private child care centers. People who have a positive sense of self feel like they have something to contribute and a sense of internal worth. They're able to venture out into the world, work toward attaining their goals, and generally welcome life with anticipation and pleasure.
A long time ago. What do we see?
A triceratops!
A triceratops. How do we know that's triceratops?
He has 3 horns.
Because he has 3 horns. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3. Yes. And
Each child in this class knows they have a specific identity.
they're petries. What kind of a dinosaur is a petrie? Do you remember what we called them?
Pterodactyl!
Pterodactyl or a? Pteranodon. Yes. And they could fly.
As teachers and caregivers, one of our more awesome tasks includes helping each child in our care form a positive sense of self-worth.
And those also could be what?
Everything I do is done with the feeling of esteem, feeling of self-worth of the child in mind. I develop my lesson plans with as many activities where the children are allowed to, first of all, choose what they would like to do. They are allowed to do as much as possible for themselves. Our program is set up that way, which is why I like this program. They serve themselves their food at mealtime, which I think you might have seen when you were here earlier. They are free to choose to read a book or to take part in an interactive game. They do things that really amaze a lot of people. I used to cook with the 1-year-old children, and I guess it's all the way that you look at it. I choose to see children as very capable individuals, and so though it sometimes is hard to let them do for themselves, it's necessary. They get a sense of, hey, I'm pretty capable from that.
I mean, just the littlest thing that they do means so much,
When we think about ways to enhance our children's self-worth, it is especially important to consider the role of the family. One of our most important jobs as preschool teachers is to communicate with each child's family and, whenever possible, act as sort of an advocate for the child. The more we help families appreciate the positive steps each child makes in his development, the more we have created a climate which enhances and reinforces self-worth.
You need to communicate with the parents on a daily basis. They want to know the process, the progress that their children are making. They want the products. They don't understand the process, which is why I'm there communicating with you. The children don't care about the product. They like the process. So we're going to bring these two together one day, and you're going to be amazed at what your child comes up with. So I talk to the parents every day, every day, good day, bad day, indifferent day. I talk to the parent, and they in turn talk to me and say, Mrs. Washington, my child told me that you said, would you tell them that only works at school, Okay, I can do that. But now they are learning how to clean their plates at home, how to clean up their rooms at home. They love that. But when they make a mess on the floor, that's the part that, don't let them serve themselves. But if they make a mess on the floor, get down there with them and tell them, hey, it's okay as long as we clean it up, okay? So you get a communication going and a process, and everything works out nicely.
A child's self-image, or how he feels about himself, comes from his self-concept, his idea of who he is. This self-concept develops very early in life. From the very beginning, a baby learns from how people respond to her and how people see her. And researchers have found that usually by about 18 months of age, a child already has a clear notion that he has a separate and specific identity. But youngsters don't develop self-image and self-identity in a vacuum. They need our help. As caregivers, we can assist our babies in feeling good about themselves by recognizing the unique qualities that each child possesses. But sometimes, this can be so much easier said than done. Some babies are easily contented and rather happy-go-lucky, while others may be easily startled and sensitive, and still others seem more difficult to please. When working with infants, it's important to pay attention to each baby's temperamental pattern so that our expectations for that child truly fit his personality. It simply isn't realistic, not to mention unfair, to expect all babies to be cheerful and cuddly all the time.
I like the way Deja's trying pieces.
One of the most important things we can do is to help our children develop a positive sense of self. Children who have self-confidence have a feeling of internal worth that enables them to welcome challenges and work cooperatively with others.
Wow, you guys are cleaning everything up, huh?
When children don't develop self-confidence, they tend to focus on failure instead of success, problems instead of challenges, and difficulties instead of possibilities. Our goals for this program are to learn more about how to help children generate good feelings about themselves that are based on reality, and how to help children feel good about themselves from within, rather than relying on the good opinion of others.
This is real important to show respect to the children, and the one way I do it is by getting down to their level and meeting eye contact with them so that they know that I'm really talking to them and I'm really listening to what they're saying, and to observe their actions and to plan lessons according to what they're interested in and what they've maybe brought to school or what they're playing with, and to motivate them with things that I know that they're interested in. I think the basic thing for respecting them is to be a great listener and a great observer, move with their needs, and treat them as you would an adult. Sometimes I think adults think that children are little objects to just pull here and pull there and let's do this and let's do that without really listening to them. And I think it's important to listen to children.
Yes or no? Are you ready to be a nice friend?
There is no single way to enhance self-esteem.
Are you ready to be a nice friend? All right, well then I guess we won't go play right now. You want to just sit here by yourself? Then you need to answer me. Are you ready to be a nice friend? Gavin, go get on the merry-go-round. We're going to go on the train again, okay?
But one way to help enhance it is to show children what we call unconditional positive regard.
Hands that hurt people, okay? Right? Okay. Because I'm not going to let you get hurt, and I'm not going to let you hurt anybody else. Right? Okay. Give me a hug. Good job. Let's go. Back on the train.
We need to let each child know that we care about him and that we accept and approve of him, no matter what.
Take, for example, my newest kid is, like I was telling, was Leslie, his first time here. If I alienate him by doing a lot of negative, no, don't do that, and never reward him with Oh, I like what you're doing. Oh, you make me happy. Oh, that's good listening. That's good sitting down. If I just negative, no, 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 everything. Sit down, Leslie. Don't do this, don't do that. Then the kid, what's going to happen is he's going to do like the rest of us. If somebody's always saying no to me, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to start looking at you and sizing you up and say, I'm going to give this lady a hard time. Okay? I don't want that type of attitude. I like you. Okay, I'm going to do this for you. And that's where this comes in at, the relationship. Making sure that kid likes you and that you like the kid, sincerely.
That picture, Jordan. Sad. Sad, maybe? It's very bright.
This isn't always easy, especially when we're correcting a child, setting limits, or when a child is misbehaving. But our challenge is to learn how to accept the child as a person, even when we do not accept her behavior, because there is a difference.
So that you can. Jordan Bentley, I'm going to stop for a minute. It's very hard for me to read when you are talking. You may sit on Miss Kathleen's lap, or you may join Snack, one or the other.
Snack.
Okay, why don't you go wash your hands?
Can you think of some ways you might redirect a child or express disapproval of a child's reactions without rejecting the child herself?
It was its life. It wasn't very exciting.
Sydney, would you like to use more colors?
Honest recognition and praise are two ways we can foster positive self-esteem.
Wow, Antonio, I like that. You made a nice picture. Your mom's going to be really proud of you.
Honest recognition and sincere praise come from the heart, and they draw attention to something specific the child has done. But be careful. Sometimes we focus so much on giving children general, non-specific praise that it becomes mechanical and empty. We spend so much time exclaiming, "Good job," or "What a nice child," that it comes to have little meaning for the youngster. It's better to be specific with remarks like, "You worked real hard to get all those beads on that string," or "Thank you for helping Janie put on her coat. You're a real friend."
That's real good cutting.
What are some other ways you can think of to make praise and recognition more specific?
They are important little guys. They're little people. So whatever you say to them, be very concrete. Let them know that you acknowledge their feelings, and that if they bring you something in the morning, really pay attention to that. Describe their actions, describe what they're doing. If you would say to them, "You're such a good drawer," or "You're doing such a nice job with that picture," really get involved with that picture and tell them, describe what you see that they're doing. "You're working so hard on those dark green lines, boy, oh boy." Really get involved with them. And I think that's the most important thing about promoting their positive self-esteem, so that they feel very important.
Self-worth is such a private internal feeling. Our comments have the most impact when they deal with who a child is and how he or she sees himself from the inside.
I like the way you're cleaning, Stevie.
When we praise children, we should try to do it in a way that heightens their sense of inner satisfaction. Notice this teacher's techniques.
I think you're going to clean those up. I like that, Stevie. Good job. You can pick all the books and put them in the box.
She praises how hard the child is working. Do you see the difference? The point is to value something real and specific the child is doing, not just to say something nice about them.
Say, "Excuse me."
So let's briefly recap what we've learned so far about honest recognition and sincere praise. 1, it should be real and specific. We shouldn't try to fake it or be too mechanical or overdo it to the point our praise becomes meaningless. 2, our praise should heighten a child's sense of inner satisfaction. So let's not focus only on the external. Respect is another key component in reinforcing a child's self-worth. But why? What do you think the relationship might be between our showing respect for a child and a child developing a more positive self-image? There are several ways we can show respect for our children. We can offer them choices when appropriate, and then be sure to respect and abide by their decision. Why do you think this is so important and feels so good to the child?
Salad? No, will you please pass it to Cynthia?
If self-confidence is our goal, then showing our own confidence in a child's ability to make decisions will go a long way toward building self-esteem.
It's important to show young children respect because you need to show them that you value them. And how you do that is you listen to them. When you listen to them, they'll give you a clue as to who they are, what they want, what they need, what they're about. And the one thing you need to do is to value their opinions, value what they say, value their choices. That's respect.
Teaching respect, I think, is very similar to teaching anything else with preschool children, and a lot of it comes from modeling, because they look to their teachers and the adults, for example. And I think specifically I try to model respect by showing them that I respect them as people, their ideas, their thoughts. When they bring something to school, that we treat it nice. So in turn, I expect them to treat the things we have at school nicely. Modeling respect for my fellow staff members. So a lot of it does come from modeling, you know, both with them and with your coworkers. All right, well, you know what? Is that something we climb? Yes or no? No, because why not? Is it safe for us to climb on there? No. So you want to climb, there's a climber right over there that you can climb on, or down there. Okay.
Another way to show respect towards children is to explain the reasons behind rules or adult decisions. This is the opposite approach to telling children, because I said so.
Hit that nail like that, but you gotta hit it. But try not to hit your fingers, but hold the nail.
Probably the most effective thing we can do to help children feel a sense of self-worth is to help them achieve something we call competence, or an internal sense of mastery or control.
Ethan, let me see you hammer. See, you did it. All right, come on.
Every time a child does something that works out well, the act itself is its own reward. Whether it be standing up for his rights in the trike area or pumping herself on the swing, the child feels competent because of what he or she did, not because of what someone said.
Okay, now put your nail down now. Don't hit your finger, hold it.
Here are 6 practical ways to help children gain competence. 1. Encourage children to make their own choices and be as independent as possible. 2. Provide many different ways for children to experience success. 3. Provide opportunities that are challenging, but not too difficult. 4. Emphasize the value of building a diverse range of skills for both girls and boys. 5. Offer many creative activities. And 6. Pay attention to children's competence in dealing with other people.
We have some dinosaur sponges that you can...
Now, let's take a look at each of these ways to encourage competency in more detail.
What do we do with the writing trays? Who remembers?
Encourage children to make their own choices and be as independent as possible.
Okay. Are you ready to make choices? Let's see who's ready for station time. You can use the Lego table this morning. In the block area this morning.
Whenever it is reasonable and possible, we should try to focus our energies on providing experiences for children where they are in control.
The author and someone who draws the picture.
And put this one here.
Provide many different ways for children to experience success. The more we can provide children with different experiences and types of activities, the more opportunities they have for achieving competence and feeling good about themselves.
That's the next step in your recipe. 1, 2, 3. 1. Can you count 3? Look in your hand.
Most children like to be challenged, and they feel proud of themselves when they finally accomplish a difficult task.
Hey, wait for Kristen, Greg. Jump down and wait for Kristen, okay? Hey, I got do it. I know you can. You're a big boy, aren't you? I do.
One of the skills in teaching children is figuring out how much we can challenge them without causing too much frustration. Also, we need to remember that in developing new skills, children need lots of opportunities to practice and try things out over and over again. Emphasize the value of providing a diverse range of skills for both girls and boys. The more competencies we can encourage in children, the greater their sense of self-worth will be.
I can do it by myself.
All right, do it. Hands down, tuck it. Tuck your head.
This holds true for both boys and girls. Let's avoid reinforcing stereotypical ideas of what is appropriate play for all children. We need to pay careful attention to allowing and encouraging equal access to activities and skills for all the children in our care.
Oh, wow.
Encourage many creative activities. Creative activities, where children can explore the process of creation as well as the expression of their ideas and feelings, are wonderful ways to boost self-esteem.
I made me.
Just very good. Thank you, Kristen.
He said thank you.
Oh, good.
Pay attention to children's competence in dealing with other people.
What does Liam think of that? You just took his car away. You just took Liam's car away. Liam, let him know how you feel. Would you like your car back? Okay, we need to find something.
Let's offer children as many opportunities as possible for interacting and playing with other children and help them to figure out strategies for getting along with them. These suggestions for helping enhance children's self-esteem are especially important when working with children who have special needs. It's so easy to become caught up in how different these children are that we lose sight of all the ways they're like other children. We can help by avoiding such unreasonable concern for their safety and well-being that we end up unintentionally stifling and depriving our children of experiences from which they might otherwise benefit and enjoy.
Good self-image is very important for all of our children. Many times people will look at programs for the special needs and said, well, they can't talk back or they don't need all that. But that's not my philosophy. My philosophy is that each child needs to be cared for. You need to take that child and bond with that child. Take that child to you, hug it, love it, say positive things. You've got to build a self-image before you can do anything else with a child. You have to build a self-image, and you have to also work with their physical challenge in order to bring out the whole child.
The rules for building self-esteem in exceptional children are not much different from the ones for the other children in our care. The key is to provide as many opportunities as possible for success for all our children, and to comment favorably when they do succeed. And let's be careful about overdoing empty praise by constantly exclaiming, "Good job," "Good boy," or "Good work." Instead, let's focus our comments on real accomplishments and specific competencies. "Thanks for handing her that crayon. That was generous of you." Or, "Look how high you can pump that swing. You worked real hard on that." Or, "Hey, you sawed through that whole board. That took a lot of work." In this program, we've discussed the importance of helping children develop a positive sense of self. We've also discussed the importance and challenge of our showing unconditional positive regard for each child. And we've looked at 4 methods which can help foster greater self-esteem in our children. 1, we can give honest recognition and praise when it is deserved. 2, we can show respect for all children. 3, We can help the child achieve competency or mastery in many different ways. And 4, we can teach our children how to get along well with others. The more opportunities our children have to acquire and practice these skills, the more likely they are to acquire an inner conviction of their own ability to cope, to thrive, and be successful at whatever they set out to accomplish. I'm Joanne Hendrick. See you next time on The Whole Child.
How's Ryan coming along?
Really well.
Parents and other caregivers are all on the same team, and good teamwork requires good communication, especially during a family crisis. How to keep the lines of communication open by listening to families. Next time on The Whole Child.
What do you say to Charlie? Say mine. That's mine. She's really sad, Charlie. I'm worried about that. How about... Oh, wow, Charlie. Thanks a lot.
Funding for this program was provided by the Annenberg CPB Project.
For information on this program and others in the Annenberg CPB collection, call 1-800-LEARNER.
This is PBS.
Funding for this program was provided by the Annenberg CPB project.
Caring for and educating young children is an awesome task with so many questions and concerns. What can we do to reduce the amount of stress and conflict in the lives of our children? What role, if any, should we play if the problems our children bring to the classroom originate at home, beyond our reach? What are some of the ways we can improve communication between ourselves and the children in our care by opening up and strengthening the lines of communication between ourselves and our children's families? Hello, I'm Joanne Hendrick, the author of The Whole Child and the host of this series. Although parents and other family members don't sit in class or at the snack table, there's no denying they are a powerful and significant presence in our work. In this program, we're going to look at the importance of maintaining stable and quality relationships with our children's families. We'll discuss what we can do to keep the lines of communication open between school and home. But we won't do it alone. We'll talk with parents and teachers from a number of different early childhood programs: family daycare homes, Head Start, university-based lab schools, and private child care centers. And we'll learn all about their firsthand experiences of dealing with and responding to the needs of children and their families.
You must be Gabrielle Stad. Yeah, I'm Eleanor. Good to meet you.
There's an old adage, when we support the family, we support the child. But the opposite is true too. When we ignore the family, we ignore a vital part of knowing the child. The key, of course, is communication, and it's never too early to start.
Keep her out of school. So she's doing great. She really likes it.
I think it's important to know where a child comes from, because each child comes from a different background. And that's one of the reasons that we do home visits, is to meet and talk to the family in their own environment. And when we come back, I feel that when we come back from a home visit, which is usually done in the beginning of the year for the first time, I'm able to understand the parent and the child better.
Many of us, especially those who work with infants, are the child's and the parent's first real contact with the outside world. This presents us with a unique opportunity for becoming closely involved and attached to our infants and family members.
Hi. Hi. Hi.
But how do we form a bond with our children without becoming overly attached? Where do we begin? We can start by making sure the lines of communication between ourselves and the family members are wide open.
Hi. He has not eaten this morning. He was a good little boy, even though Sister woke him up. Sissy wake you up. Yes, she did. Sissy wake you up this morning. He's probably hungry. Are you hungry?
One way is by looking for opportunities to find out what's happening at home. Families are under a great deal of stress these days for any number of reasons. They might regret having to leave their child with someone else and feel guilty about it. Also, many families with young children are under stress as they try to balance the demands of work and family. There are ways we can keep in touch with families. First, we need to make ourselves available to parents when they're around school. Informal chats during drop-off and pickup times can do much to build relationships of trust. Verbal or written messages about things that have happened at school mean a lot to parents, and let them know we really care. And don't forget to keep family members updated on the good news, as well as any problems you may need to point out.
Oh, hi. Nice seeing you. We'll have a new one here. Yeah.
Hi, Rena.
Hi, how are you? Evan looks just like you.
Still?
Group parent meetings and social events are also very helpful in creating a climate of families and teachers working together. And of course, We should use regularly scheduled parent conferences as a time to listen to what's really going on at home.
Rich handed her a crayon, and he just randomly handed it to her. We didn't think it'd make any difference. And she set it down and picked it. He had given it to her with the blunt end down instead of the pointed end, and she made a big deal that was not right, Dad. You know.
Listening skills are the basis of communication, and it all begins with a concept we call active listening. When we assume the role of an active listener, we're communicating to whoever is speaking that we've heard them correctly, that we've understood what they said, and most importantly, that our attention means we care. There are 4 skills necessary for active listening: attending behavior, paraphrasing for facts, paraphrasing for feelings, and questioning. Let's take a look at each of these active listening skills by demonstrating what not to do. We'll begin with attending behavior. Pay close attention to the teacher's body language and her lack of control over her environment.
Thanks for seeing us today. We wanted to talk to you about our daughter, Rose. She's been crying a lot at home, and well, honey.
Rose has been here a month, and still, when I drop her off, she cries so much.
Hello? Oh, hi, honey. Yeah, no, I don't feel like Chinese tonight. Well, I think I'm just gonna have to, I'll try and get there as soon as I can, and we'll just have to do it together. Yeah. Okay, all right, see you soon. Bye.
Shoot. About Rose, I think she's having problems adjusting to your center.
Let's review. Did you notice how our teacher wasn't really facing the family member? Eye contact is essential in face-to-face meetings. Did you notice how the teacher barely moved her head during the meeting? Nods or affirmative shakes of the head convey that you are really listening. What does it tell the parent when the teacher sits back with her arms folded? This type of body language may communicate that you're feeling defensive. And what did you observe about the teacher's facial expressions? Did you notice our teacher's control or lack of control over her environment? Reducing or eliminating classroom distractions is so important when we're trying to talk with someone.
How are you doing?
Nonverbal communication is only part of the process. The family member needs to know that you understand what they're saying. That's where paraphrasing, or the act of listening and rephrasing what people say to you, comes in. First, paraphrasing for facts. Let's see what can happen when we don't paraphrase accurately.
I want to thank you for taking the time to see us today. Rose is having a problem. It's kind of sensitive.
She's bedwetting.
Oh, I love bedwetting. That's my favorite topic to deal with parents, because I was a chronic bedwetter. Because I remember I had the funniest experience when I was a child, and I had a bedwetting problem until I was like 8 years old, and I'll never...
Not a pretty picture, is it? How did our teacher fail in her effort to paraphrase for facts? How do you think you would respond to this family member if you were the teacher? We can start by looking at the situation from the family member's point of view. We can stick to the subject instead of constantly changing it. We can keep the discussion focused on the child and the family member. And of course, we can restate the main ideas using our own words. Now let's look at a better way of doing this.
A problem at home. It's kind of a sensitive nature my wife could probably...
She's bedwetting. She's been bedwetting since she started at the center. So we know there's a direct correlation between daycare and bedwetting, but we can't figure it out. We're wondering if you've ever encountered that with any of the other children in your care.
Okay, so you're concerned about Rose wetting the bed, and it sounds like you're wondering whether this is related to her starting here at the center. And I also hear that you're feeling a little uncomfortable with the situation and sort of worried about your daughter. Is that right?
There are a lot of kids in this program who have the same behavior.
Now that we have seen how to paraphrase for facts, let's see how paraphrasing for feelings is different. Paraphrasing for feelings is very similar to paraphrasing for facts, except we're focusing on what we think the family member is feeling. Identifying and paraphrasing how we think the person is feeling is the key. But let's remember to be cautious. There's nothing more uncomfortable for the speaker and for the listener than identifying the wrong feeling. For instance, you might say, "I can see you're extremely concerned about his thumb sucking." But a more desirable way to say it would be, "Are you more worried or irritated about the way he's gone back to sucking his thumb?" Saying it this way gives people the option of correcting you if you're mistaken. Attending behavior and paraphrasing for facts and feelings show the family member that we're there for them, both physically and mentally. But often a well-placed question can help someone express themselves more completely. The final listening skill we're going to look at is called questioning. For every technique, there's both good and bad execution. Once again, let's return to our conference and see an example of poor questioning.
Thanks for coming to this conference today, and I wanted to start out by asking you a few questions.
Okay. Sure.
Does Rosie watch a lot of violent TV programs, would you say?
Never.
No.
Well, we've seen an awful lot of aggression here at school, and I was trying to figure out where this could be coming from. Do you have any ideas what
What do you mean by aggression?
Well, she hits the other kids, she chases them, pins them down, she kicks.
Kicking?
She's scratched her teacher. Frankly, we can't keep her in a school like this and let her around other children if she's going to keep attacking them.
The difference between poor and effective questioning is subtle. It's really more a matter of listening carefully and asking open-ended questions. What tips would you offer our teacher the next time she tries questioning a family member? Productive questions might include, to begin a conference, well, what's new? When working together to solve a problem, what have you tried so far? When did you first notice her doing that? Followed by, was there anything else out of the ordinary that happened at the same time? And finally, the best question of all is simply, oh? Now, let's look at a better way of questioning.
And I just wanted to start out maybe getting to know Rosie a little bit better and finding out how is she at home? How are you feeling about having this 3-year-old in your house? How's it going?
She's doing all right.
Yeah, she's great.
She's was anxious at first about the center, coming to the school and all the new kids, but she seems to be fitting in a little better now. Is everything going okay on your end?
She's always intensely involved in whatever she's doing, usually playing with other kids. She's very sociable.
She's very intense.
Yeah. And I've got some observations that I've taken that I'll get to at the end of this conference. Do you have any concerns about her?
She's mentioned that she's gotten involved in some physical confrontations with other students. Do you know anything about that? We didn't know if
yeah,
if
she
that was
came home
if it
with a
was something
bruise on her
serious
arm
or-
once.
It's not uncommon in a child care situation for children to fight, especially over toys. Usually they're so engrossed in what they're doing, just as you know, Rosie gets completely involved in her projects that she'll be thinking, oh, I want the tape, and just grab it without thinking that someone else is using it. And we've really been working with this class to start paying attention to the other children and asking questions and using their words to get what they want instead of physical confrontation.
This has happened a lot.
It's very important to establish rapport with each child's family. But how do we talk with parents about something we know will upset them? And how do we respond when parents are angry with us? Just as teachers sometimes blame the family for a child's misbehavior, parents sometimes blame us, perhaps threatening, if Sandra comes home once more with bite marks, I'm filing a complaint with licensing. Or, I just can't believe the language Jack uses since he started here. Once again, the key is keeping lines of communication wide open.
We had a situation with lice that happened at school, and that happens in every school at any certain time. But this parent was particularly concerned and worried, and because she was very concerned, she chose to take her anger out on me with lots of shouting and finger pointing. So I had to take a deep breath and not take it personally and be the teacher and try to understand her point of view and yet assure her that we were doing everything we could at school and I was helping her in every way that I could. And so I asked her, first of all, to step into the office away from the other parents, and asked her to talk about this calmly, and possibly ask her to calm down and then come back and we talk about it at a better time. And I just tried to provide her with as much information as possible, and of course letting her know that I understood her situation and her panic. But I was feeling that way too, and we could talk about it together, and that if we worked it out together, that we were in this together, it would be better than being angry with each other about the situation.
Fortunately, there are alternative ways of coping with angry feelings that can help us retain control of ourselves and the situation. Very important skill for a professional person to acquire. One of the ways to maintain control is by recognizing your flashpoints.
The way I control my temper is to remove myself actually from the situation or from the working area. If I see a child that I know today I can't deal with, then I will call my partner and have her work with that child, her handle the situation, and I just step out totally. And then I just sit myself down in an area and just chill out. Once I get my thoughts together, myself together, when I know I can go back into the working area, then I will.
What kinds of issues or situations especially bother you when you're working with family members? Which button is guaranteed to push you over the edge? Whatever our flashpoints, it's helpful to know what they are in advance. Once we know what they are, we can summon the self-control needed. Now, does that mean we can never get angry? What do you think? Remember, as with children, the same rules apply. Recognize the feeling. Feel what you want, but control what you say or do about it. And with adults, we can add another suggestion. Give yourself time, breathing space, before you reply. Let's watch our teacher as she shows us how not to respond to an angry family member.
And I think it comes from the things that you're teaching here at this center. What kind of program are you running here?
I think the kids are going to be coming in here. Why don't we go down to the
We need to
office?
talk about this right now. This is very important to us, and I'm not going to just be brushed off like this.
Well, I'm not brushing you off, but I think if you're having problems with Rose, we can talk about it down in the office.
I think your people are totally incompetent.
I don't see how you can say that it's our fault that your child is aggressive.
I think your staff is incompetent and they're not controlling the children properly.
She wasn't having these problems before we brought her to this center.
That is ridiculous. When you brought Rosie to the center, she started fighting with the other kids as soon as she got here. We couldn't leave her in a room completely unattended.
Why would you leave her unattended in the first place?
I mean, we had to be with her every second. We couldn't even be 2 feet away from her. You don't pay for babysitting like that so that we can hover over your child and make sure she doesn't hurt others.
You're supposed to be watching over our...
This is a difficult situation, and there are no easy answers. Here are some tips that may help. The first thing to do is remember to recognize that she's pushed your button. Now, take a breath so you can control what you're going to do next. After that, paraphrase the family member's feelings, and then admit your feelings by saying something like this: I'm really concerned too. This is what I'm trying to do about the situation. What other things could you say to ease the tension? Let's look at a better way to deal with angry parents.
The center's responsible. We need to talk about this right now.
Yeah. Okay, the kids are going to be coming in here real soon. Why don't we go down in the office and we can talk there?
That'd be fine.
Okay, let's have a seat here. I thought it would be better if we came in the office.
Well, I guess.
So, what's the problem?
I don't see the results that I expected to see from the time that she's been at this center. Before she came to this center, she was much more disciplined, and we never had problems like this with her. And we think it's got to be your pervasive influence. I mean, something's going on here at the center that is causing her to disobey us. And if you're not giving her discipline, that's a problem.
All right, I hear you saying a number of different things, and let me just say it back to you and see if I have it right. For one thing, it sounds like you've noticed some changes in how she's acting at home since she started at school, and you're not happy with those changes. Is that right?
No, that's right.
Okay, so that's one of the problems that we can talk about and try to come to some consensus about what's going on with Rose. And then another issue I hear you talking about is you're concerned about her potty training.
So far, We've focused on our communication skills with adult members of the family, but these same skills can be applied to our children, especially in times of crisis. When a child experiences a crisis at home, it can dramatically impact upon what happens at school. And we'll have to call on all the listening and communication skills we have to help our children and their families get through these difficult and painful times. A family in crisis is a child in crisis.
Oh, did she already leave? Did she leave already?
Whether it's illness, death, losing a job, or a divorce, family crises present us with one of the greatest challenges of our jobs. During upsetting and difficult times, we can help our children get through these events by letting them know we are supporting and caring about them. But how can we remain calm and helpful in the face of painful and sometimes even tragic events? Events that upset us, too. There are many things we can do to help children through difficult times. These include: tell the truth. Don't ignore the situation or pretend nothing's wrong. Children always know when something's wrong, and they worry more when they don't know what it is. On the other hand, we have to be careful not to overreact. It takes a sensitive teacher to help a child through a crisis without overdoing it or intruding too much on the family's privacy. Avoid false and unrealistic assurances. There's a thin line between comforting a child and promising everything is going to be all right, when, from the child's point of view, it won't be. Listen to what the child is saying with both words and behavior. In dealing with these difficult situations, it's important to help the child express his feelings and worries about what is happening. All the more reason why we must keep in constant contact with family members so we can connect what the child's doing at school with what's going on at home.
Shows are coming on, and then now it comes. It's a little alligator and a zebra. The alligator was crushed and pressed.
Play and creative activities offer excellent outlets for a child to express her deepest, innermost thoughts and fears. We can provide much-needed support for distressed children by offering them plenty of imaginative play opportunities to express their feelings and worries during a time of crisis.
Oh, you're working hard. If you need help, just ask me, okay? I got your bubbles! Wow, you did it. Now show me how you'll hold on to the basket.
We can support their play by providing appropriate props. We can ask questions and make comments about their play. And we can provide many opportunities to relieve stress with activities such as water play and finger paint. During times of crisis, let's not overreact to tears and other upset behavior. It's important to remember that crying brings relief and that it's valuable and helpful to the child. Feeling bad is a part of life, just as feeling joyful is. And it's important that we accept children's expressions of grief rather than block them by trying to distract children or telling them not to cry or that everything will be all right. Sudden losses of control are also commonplace in such situations, and anger can be an appropriate and helpful response as long as no one gets verbally or physically hurt. When life gets too tough for children and they feel helpless, they often revert to less mature behavior, such as thumb-sucking or bedwetting. During such times, it can help them feel better if you give them the opportunity to make simple choices so they feel like they're more in charge. This can help the child combat feelings of helplessness and panic that often accompany a crisis. Let's review what we've learned about communicating with children and their families. We learned the value of active listening, of really paying attention to the other person's physical as well as verbal language. And we've learned how important attending behavior can be, that is, controlling our environment so we can pay attention to what's being said to us without unnecessary distractions or disruptions. We learned how important it is to paraphrase for facts and for feelings, to show the person we not only hear what they're saying, we also understand what they mean. And finally, we've learned how important it is to ask questions so we can gain new information as well as verify our own perceptions. One of the most effective things we can do is to make it clear to the family that we have the child's welfare at heart. We can also take care to support families, learn about them, and listen to their concerns. If we've done a good job at this, we will find that we have much bigger help when problems arise. Once the lines of communication are open, we can offer families what they need the most: an accepting attitude, an open ear, and a warm heart. I'm Joanne Hendrick. See you next time on The Whole Child.
Children with special needs or disabilities need individual attention, but there are ways we can make them feel welcome and share the same joy and accomplishment. How to create a place where everybody's special. Next time on The Whole Child.
It sounds like you've heard the same ages and how she's acting at home since she started this school. Not having those.
Funding for this program was provided by the Annenberg CPB Project.
For information on this program and others in the Annenberg CPB collection, call 1-800-LEARNER.
This is PBS.